First contact and deception. The massive hegemony vessel emerged from the darkness of space, its obsidian hull absorbing starlight rather than reflecting it. At 15 kilometers long, it dwarfed Earth's largest structures and hung over the planet like a silent promise of doom. This was the flagship of the Galactic hegemony, an empire spanning 300 star systems and 42 sentient species. On the command deck, Supreme Commander Vex studied the blue-green world through narrowed eyes. His scaled skin rippled with anticipation as he observed the third planet of this unremarkable yellow star. Behind him, the bridge crew worked in perfect synchronization, their movements as precise as the machinery they operated. Initial scans complete, Supreme Commander announced First Officer Zara, her 4 arms moving across multiple control panels. Primitive technology detected. Nuclear fission, early fusion experiments, chemical propulsion for space travel. They've barely left their own atmosphere. Vex's mouth twisted into what passed for a smile among his species. Another simple conquest, then. How long have they had technology? Their industrial age began approximately 300 years ago. Spaceflight less than 100 years ago. Pathetic, Vex said with a dismissive gesture of his clawed hand. Send the standard first contact protocol. Let's see how quickly they surrender. As preparations began, an alert sounded from a communications terminal. A junior officer approached Vex with obvious reluctance. Supreme Commander, we've received an urgent transmission from the Elder Council on Solara Prime. Vex suppressed his irritation. The Elders were one of the few species granted autonomy within the hegemony, mainly due to their ancient knowledge and technological contributions centuries ago. Now they mostly stayed out of hegemony affairs, making this communication unusual. Display it, Vex ordered. The holographic image of Elder Thorn appeared, his crystalline body glimmering with internal light. His voice resonated with the weight of millennia. Commander Vex, we have detected your presence in System 4729, locally known as Sol. We must caution you about the dominant species on the third planet. Vex straightened, his pride wounded by the unsolicited advice. The humans? Our scans show them to be primitive and fractured. They still fight among themselves over resources and ideology. Appearances can be deceiving, Elder Thorn replied. Our archives indicate contact with humans over 600 years ago. They were even more primitive then, but showed remarkable adaptability. We have observed them from afar. Their rate of technological advancement is unprecedented in our records. All species advance, Vex countered dismissively. Not like these humans. What took our civilization 5,000 years to develop, they achieved in 2 centuries. What took the Qualeri 3 millennia, humans mastered in decades. They learn, adapt, and innovate at a pace that defies our understanding. Vex waved a hand, cutting off the Elder's warning. Thank you for your concern, Elder Thorn. The hegemony has incorporated 42 species into our empire. Humans will be the 43rd. After terminating the transmission, Vex turned to his officers. Prepare a delegation to receive their leaders. I want to look these humans in the eyes when they surrender their world. Down on Earth, in the hastily established Global Defense Command beneath the Rocky Mountains, Dr. Ileana Carter reviewed the alien scans that Earth's hidden satellites had intercepted. As Earth's leading genotechnologist and now appointed ambassador, she understood more about the aliens than they realized. They're scanning our most visible technology, she noted to General Marcus Way, her counterpart in Earth's unified military command. They're seeing our commercial satellites, public power plants, and conventional militaries. We nodded grimly, but not the rest. Exactly, Ileana confirmed. They have no idea what we've been developing since we detected their approach 3 years ago. When the first long-range sensors had picked up the hegemony fleet entering the outer solar system, Earth's nations had done something unprecedented. They united completely. Centuries of warfare had taught humans to prepare for the worst, and the approaching aliens had provided a common enemy that dissolved old rivalries overnight. Ambassador Carter, A communications officer called out. They're requesting first contact protocols. They want to meet Earth's leaders. Ileana exchanged a meaningful look with General Wei. Tell them I'll meet their delegation as Earth's representative, and make sure they only see what we want them to see. The meeting took place in Geneva, deliberately chosen to showcase what appeared to be Earth's most advanced diplomatic center. The hegemony delegation arrived in a smaller vessel, still impressive by human standards, but merely a shuttle to the aliens. Ileana stood on the landing pad, dressed in formal diplomatic attire, intentionally designed to look ceremonial rather than practical. Around her, a carefully selected team of advisors fidgeted nervously, all according to plan. Commander Vex descended from the shuttle, towering nearly 3 meters tall. His reptilian features surveyed the human delegation with barely concealed contempt. I am Supreme Commander Vex of the Galactic Hegemony, he announced through a translation device. Your planet is now under our protection and authority. Ileana bowed her head submissively. We are honored by your presence, Supreme Commander. I am Ambassador Ileana Carter, representing the United Nations of Earth. Your cooperation will determine how gently your integration proceeds, Vex continued. We bring order and advancement to primitive worlds. Your resources will serve the greater good of the hegemony, and in time, your people will enjoy the benefits of true civilization. Ileana maintained her facade of awe and deference. We have much to learn from the hegemony. However, our people are diverse, and many will fear what they do not understand. We request time to prepare them for these changes. Vex seemed pleased by her apparent submission. You seem more reasonable than most primitives we encounter. You shall have 6 months to prepare your people for full integration. After that, we will begin resource extraction and population management. You are most generous, Supreme Commander, Ileana replied, keeping her eyes downcast to hide the flash of determination within them. As the meeting concluded, Vex turned to his second-in-command and spoke in his native language, not realizing that Ileana had studied it extensively from intercepted communications. These humans are even weaker than we anticipated, Vex said. They'll make excellent labor for the mining colonies. Ileana maintained her diplomatic smile while recording every word. Back in the underground command center, Ileana reported to the Unified Earth Government representatives. We have 6 months before they begin full occupation, she explained, bringing up holographic displays of the hegemony vessels. They've positioned 5 major ships around Earth, with their command vessel in geosynchronous orbit over the Pacific. And they believe we're submitting, asked President Quan of the United Asian Alliance. Completely, Ileana confirmed. They think we're primitive, divided, and terrified. Their arrogance is our advantage. General Wei activated a secure display showing facilities around the world. Project Phoenix is ahead of schedule. Reverse engineering of their technology from long-range scans has yielded results. Dr. Reynolds, please update us on progress. Dr. James Reynolds, head of Earth's Advanced Technology Division, stood and gestured to the display. We've made breakthroughs in 3 key areas. First, their energy systems. We've adapted our quantum field technology to mimic their power signatures. Second, their communications. We can now not only intercept but interfere with their transmissions. Third, and most importantly, their weapons. The display showed testing facilities where adapted energy weapons were being manufactured in hidden factories around the world. The hegemony weapons operate on principles similar to our experimental particle acceleration technology, Reynolds continued. We've created prototypes that, while less powerful than theirs, can be produced quickly and in large numbers. Ileana nodded in satisfaction. The key is surprise. They expect no resistance, which gives us one chance to strike decisively. For the next 3 months, Ileana maintained regular diplomatic contact with the hegemony, feeding them carefully crafted misinformation about Earth's capitulation. She portrayed humans as disorganized, fearful, and struggling to accept their new reality. Meanwhile, beneath the surface, literally and figuratively, Earth prepared. In underground facilities spanning every continent, humans worked together as never before. Former enemy nations shared their most classified technological developments. Scientists who once competed now collaborated around the clock. Soldiers who had fought against each other trained side by side. 4 months after first contact, Commander Vex invited Ileana aboard the flagship to review the integration plans. She arrived in a simple transport, escorted by nervous-looking officials, all highly trained special forces in disguise. "Your people are accepting their place more quickly than expected," Vex observed as they walked through the massive vessel. "We may accelerate the timeline." "We are adapting as best we can," Ileana replied humbly, though some regions are struggling more than others. As they toured the ship, Ileana's enhanced contact lenses recorded everything: ship layouts, control systems, crew movements. The seemingly decorative accessories worn by her team were actually advanced scanning devices, cataloging the ship's vulnerabilities. "You'll sign these integration protocols," Vex stated, presenting a digital tablet. "They formalize Earth's status as a protectorate of the hegemony." Ileana accepted the tablet with appropriate reverence. "I am honored to represent humanity in this historic moment, Commander. However, our diverse governance structures require that all major regional leaders approve such agreements. Could we have 2 more months to complete the proper procedures?" Vex considered this with obvious impatience, but ultimately agreed. Every delay was a victory for Earth. In the 5th month of preparation, the hegemony began constructing their first Earth facility, a massive processing center in the Pacific Ocean. They allowed human observers to watch from a distance, confident in their technological superiority. What the aliens didn't realize was that every construction vessel was being scanned by advanced sensors hidden on seemingly primitive fishing boats. Every material, every component, every energy signature was analyzed and transmitted to Earth's hidden research centers. With 1 month remaining before the deadline, Earth was ready. "Final status report," Ileana requested in the Global Command Center. General Wee displayed the global readiness map. Defensive systems are in place around all major population centers. The fleet is positioned and camouflaged. Ground forces are deployed according to Plan Alpha. Orbital platforms are ready but remain powered down to avoid detection. "Communications disruption network?" Ileana asked. "Operational and tested," confirmed Dr. Reynolds. "We can isolate their fleet from any coordinated response." "And Project Prometheus?" A scientist stepped forward. "The adaptive virus is complete. Once deployed in their systems, it will rewrite their operational protocols. Their weapons will target their own ships before they realize what's happening." Ileana studied the displays, feeling the weight of humanity's future on her shoulders. "We get one chance at this. If we fail, they'll show no mercy." President Kwan spoke for the assembled world leaders. "We have lived divided for millennia, fighting amongst ourselves over territory, resources, and ideology. Now we stand united not just to survive, but to show the galaxy who humans truly are." Ileana nodded solemnly. "Tomorrow, the hegemony learns the truth about humans." Resistance and revolution. Commander Vex stood on the command deck of his flagship, watching with satisfaction as his invasion fleet moved into position around Earth. 6 months of observation had only confirmed his initial assessment. Humans were primitive, disorganized, and ripe for conquest. "Begin the occupation sequence," he ordered. "Deploy ground forces to the designated control points. I want their major cities secured within 12 hours. "Yes, Supreme Commander." First Officer Zora responded, relaying the commands to the fleet. Hundreds of hegemony dropships began descending toward Earth's surface, targeting seats of government, military installations, and infrastructure nodes. On his displays, Vex watched the careful choreography of invasion, a routine the hegemony had perfected across dozens of worlds. "Sir," a communications officer called out, "Ambassador Carter is requesting to speak with you." Vex gestured dismissively. "Put her through. Let's hear her final please." Ileana's face appeared on the screen, her expression solemn but composed. Commander Vex, on behalf of Earth, I wish to thank you for the courtesy of these 6 months to prepare. Vex was taken aback by her calm demeanor. Your preparation time is over, Ambassador. Your world now formally belongs to the hegemony. About that, Ileana replied, a subtle shift in her tone making Vex suddenly uneasy. We've prepared a response to your occupation. She raised her hand, holding what appeared to be a simple communication device, and pressed it. Immediately, alarms blared across the command deck. Sir, we're losing communications with the invasion force, shouted the communications officer. All fleet coordination systems are experiencing failures. First Officer Zora reported, her 4 arms working frantically across control panels. Vex stared at Ileana's image in disbelief. What have you done? Shown you who humans really are, she answered simply. Across Earth, the hegemony invasion collapsed into chaos. As dropships approached major cities, they were met not by terrified civilians, but by precision energy weapons remarkably similar to their own. Hidden defense platforms emerged from oceans, mountains, and what had appeared to be ordinary buildings. In New York, a hegemony transport crashed into the East River after its navigation systems mysteriously redirected it away from its target. In Beijing, landing forces found themselves trapped in electromagnetic fields that rendered their weapons useless. In Cairo, Moscow, and Rio de Janeiro, similar scenes unfolded as the coordinated invasion disintegrated. On the flagship, Vex watched in horror as reports flooded in from the few communication channels still functioning. Impossible, he whispered. They're using technology they couldn't possibly possess. Sir, First Officer Zora reported, our primary weapon systems are offline. Something has infiltrated our control protocols. Outside the viewports, Vex saw what appeared to be primitive Earth satellites suddenly activate, revealing themselves as orbital defense platforms. They fired concentrated energy beams at key points on his vessel, targeting communications arrays and weapon emplacements with surgical precision. Launch all fighters, Vex commanded. Destroy those platforms. But as the hegemony fighters deployed, they encountered Earth vessels rising from the atmosphere, craft that bore no resemblance to the primitive shuttles they had observed. These ships moved with impossible agility, using propulsion systems that the hegemony sensors couldn't even categorize. How? Vex demanded, turning to his science officer. How did they advance so quickly? Before the officer could respond, the main view screen activated, showing Ileana again. But gone was the submissive diplomat. She stood in what was clearly a military command center, wearing a uniform that designated her as Earth's defense commander. Commander Vex, she addressed him. The Galactic hegemony has initiated hostile action against Earth. We are responding accordingly. This is impossible, Vex snarled. Your people were primitive, divided. Your technology was centuries behind ours. You saw what we wanted you to see, Ileana explained. When we detected your approach 3 years ago, humanity united for the first time in our history. We've spent centuries fighting each other, perfecting the art of war and deception. You gave us a common enemy and 6 months to prepare. We needed only 3. Across the solar system, the carefully orchestrated hegemony invasion turned into a humiliating rout. Dropships retreated in disarray, pursued by Earth fighters. The 5 support vessels accompanying Vex's flagship found themselves targeted by weapons that somehow bypassed their defensive shields. Sir, Zara reported, the secondary fleet is reporting similar uprisings on Proxys II and Ventari Prime. The subject species there are using the same technology as the humans. Vex's blood ran cold. Proxys II and Ventari Prime were hegemony-controlled worlds light years from Earth. That's not possible. They couldn't have coordinated across such distances. On the screen, Ileana smiled. While you were watching our diplomats, our emissaries were reaching out to other worlds under your control. As it turns out, Many species in your hegemony have been waiting for an opportunity to reclaim their freedom. Throughout the ship, systems continued to fail as the Prometheus virus spread through its networks. Weapons targeted other hegemony vessels, life support fluctuated, and gravity generators malfunctioned. Supreme Commander, First Officer Zora said quietly, "We must retreat. We've lost control of the situation." For the first time in his long military career, Vex felt fear, not just for this battle, but for the hegemony itself. If humans could do this in 6 months, what would they accomplish in a year? In 10. All vessels, emergency retreat, he ordered. Return to hegemony space immediately. As the damaged flagship limped away from Earth, pursued by ships that shouldn't exist, Vex received one final communication from Elder Thorn. "I warned you about the humans, Commander," the ancient being said, his crystalline form pulsing with what might have been disappointment. "They are unlike any species we have encountered. Where we build on the past, they reimagine the future. Where we perfect through evolution, they accelerate through revolution." 3 months after the failed invasion, the ripples of Earth's resistance had spread across the galaxy. 42 worlds had declared independence from the hegemony, forming a loose coalition called the Galactic Alliance of Free Species. At its heart stood humanity, not as conquerors, but as liberators and innovators.